Steph, Vancouver here coming up this Sunday. Team obviously that's done so well this season, looking quite different this week. What do you see from the Whitecaps that's going to give you guys some trouble?
Yeah, they've had I think we've said this over the last few years. I think that they've started finding an identity and they've become a good side that they know what they want to do. And I think that the players are bought in and the coaches were bought in and all that. And obviously they made a coaching change, but for the most part the players were somewhat the same. But some of those players have delivered. I mean, they've been some really good players, and obviously that's, I think, in part why they're going to be missing a few, because rightfully so they all got called up. It's difficult to juggle multiple tournaments as well, and they've done so exceptionally well. Having said that, even though they're missing their players, I still think that they're going to be trying to play the exact same way, and that has been their strength. I think they're collectively they're buying in, and so yeah, they're going to be missing some players, but we're well aware that they're dangerous because their strength is their unity and what they believe in and how they want to play. So it's going to be a tough match.
Obviously, you guys have seen some center back injuries here with Kim, with Yamar, but getting Jackson back healthy, what does that do for your back line and your defense facing this Whitecaps team?
Yeah, we need it obviously right now with some of the other guys unfortunately picking up a few knocks, but I think throughout that rotation we've seen that we have good depth in that position, and that bodes well in these situations, and obviously also with other things looming. You know, we have Club World Cup coming up, we have Leagues Cup still, and in the season, you know, especially with all the travel accumulating as the season goes on. Those things drag on. It's good if you know you have that depth and you can rely on people.
You mentioned the Club World Cup. You spoke after the match, obviously, with Christian. Has there been any movement since Sunday?
We haven't heard anything from the league. I think our representatives, as in our union, and their representatives from the league are hopefully in actual talks at this point. Our message on the weekend was to try to get a point across that, hey, we want to sit down and talk. I think we made that point, and I think it was received. So we're kind of giving a little bit of grace and a little bit of space to respond, if you will, and hopefully we can be constructive and move forward. Because ultimately we want to focus on the games, not just those games that are looming, but a massive match on the weekend for us as well.
How do you as a captain deal with the emotions of making a point and then maybe some of the things and dynamics that happen with the coaching and owners and the players to make sure that that's focused in the right direction moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's obviously there's a lot of emotions that can come out when there's a bit of friction that happens like that. You know, for me and Christian, we're captain and co-captain of this squad, and I think we take that very, very seriously. I think, and maybe this is my personal opinion, but I think having grown up in Europe, a captain and co-captain have a tremendous responsibility. It's not just wearing your captain's armband and getting to prance around on the field with that. No, it's you have to take care of your squad. You have to be the representative that goes and has difficult conversations, but for the best interest of the squad. And I'd argue one of the strengths of this franchise has always been the strength and the unity of the squad. And that doesn't come from nothing. That comes from great leadership, for one, and people that believe that everybody's opinion and everybody's input, whether that is blood, sweat, and tears, is valued. And that's how we go about in our locker room, and I think that's why everybody gets along so well. It's one of our strengths. Having said that, again, it doesn't make it easy sometimes for people like myself and Christian to have to stand there and do it, but we try to do it as respectful as we can. We reached out to Adrian yesterday, and we're going to try to sit down and make sure that we can all find a bit of common ground, maybe see where everybody's coming from as well, and maybe where we could have done things a little bit better on both sides to make sure that we are coming to a solution that sort of works for everybody.
How would you describe your relationship with Adrian?
I always thought I've had a great relationship with Adrian. You know, I mean, I've been here for 12 years now, and I have said this in interviews before that I think I'm exceptionally blessed to have been here for 12 years. Not just with the success on the field, but me personally, my family, and just enjoying life. You know, ultimately this is a job for us. I get it, but we're living too. We're living human beings, and you want to have a life that you're enjoying and you're you're happy. And so that's also some of the reasons why people like me and Christian, I think, have embedded ourselves into the community and have tried to fight for the community a little bit as well, because we feel like we've been given a lot, and we're trying to give back, not just on the field but off the field as well. Yeah, it's a tricky situation because for me personally speaking, also, you know, the longevity that I've had, gone through probably about 6 CBAs at this point. So we never had an instance where there was communication between owners and players directly in those situations. We've had unions and we've had their representatives, and so maybe that was the naivety or the error in our ways, that maybe we didn't realize that in this situation there could be a more direct and personal way to engage in this. But I think we're trying to find a solution, and hopefully things can progress and everybody can be happy.
There's been some sourcing that have told us that even with how things are set up right now, MLS teams are getting the most compensation in terms of players during the group stage component of this tournament. Does that change your mind or anybody's about how everything has kind of played out?
Wait, can you repeat that? You're saying that the MLS teams are getting the most?
The most guaranteed compensation as players during the group stage part of the tournament.
I don't know where you heard that. We have never heard that from anybody. And according to global standards, that is definitely not the case. But again, having said that, we feel strongly that, you know, going from the Club World Cup format that we had in previous years, where I believe the overall pot of money was somewhere in the $16-ish million, going from that to $1 billion is a drastic change that at the very least needs to be talked about. That's all we're asking for, is for us to sit down, chat, and hopefully find something that's fair for everybody. In the end, you know, I understand that we, speaking of the Sounders, again, we have Miami in this as well, and LAFC. But speaking for us in particular, we have a tough task ahead of ourselves. But having said that, you know, I think you want to give every incentive for players to go on the Cinderella story, to get a tie against a team and somehow find a win and get out of the group. And if we do so, what a great story, not just for the players, but for this league and for the sport in this country. And that's sort of where our head is when it comes to all these conversations.
You mentioned LAFC and Miami. What have those conversations been like with players on those teams?
Well, I mean, I think I said this after the game on Sunday, that we had previously talked to Miami because they were obviously in the tournament already. And we had just some preliminary talks with LAFC, but we did not feel like it was the right thing to keep them in and feel like they had to perform or participate in this when they were not even in yet. So they were kind of informed, but we didn't want to put that pressure on them. So yeah, there was Zoom calls with Miami. There was a letter that we privately sent to the league by those two teams that seemed to fall on deaf ears a little bit, to be honest, which was frustrating. And then since then, now we've looped in LA, who have obviously earned their spot, and so we're trying to move forward as a collective.
What would you say to anyone that would have the misperception that this act can distract you from just focusing on league play and games, and it might be just thinking about yourselves and not the team overall and the wins ahead?
Oh, it's 100% a distraction. It's been a distraction for quite a while. And I think Christian said it quite well yesterday, that we fought through these distractions and were able to get some good wins and in tough games. Obviously, we were very motivated to get a win on the weekend, not just for the standings and how big that of those points are, but obviously we're well aware that people are going to say exactly that oh, you were focusing on one thing too much. I think the focus is not really, we're dealing with a lot of things off the field with this. On the field, I think, in training, I don't know, but if you guys are watching, we're working hard. On the field, I would argue we worked exceptionally hard on the weekend. There's some mistakes made, some bounces that didn't go our way, and that is football. But we would love for this distraction to be gone. Now, to your second point about we should just shut up and play, sort of. We are exceptionally blessed that we get to do for a living what we do, but we do it for a living. And so when we are asked to play in a tournament that was not really in our contract beforehand, and then for us to find out that it's also $1 billion in terms of payout. And again, I think FIFA has done a really good thing in terms of finding a tier system that makes sense. But we are working. And people might say, oh, you're all exceptionally rich and millionaires, but there's not many millionaires on our team. And also, some people are very fortunate to play till 39. Most players are going to probably play till they're 34 or 35, and nobody's going to retire after that. I mean, they're retiring from football, but not from working. And so you do have to maximize your playing days as well. So I think we're doing it, trying to do it in a respectful way. I know that we ruffled some feathers in the weekend, but we needed to have someone hear a point and understand that we're not pleased. But again, I think we're trying to find a solution, and hopefully that kind of got a point across that we can hopefully sit down and get something sorted out.
Assume that you watched the UEFA final this last weekend.
Parts of it, yeah.
When you watch a game like that has an opponent coming up in it, how does it compare to maybe the previous years you've watched the UEFA final?
Yeah, it's amazing. For me, it's more. It kind of makes me think of my days when with Toronto, when we played against a friendly against Real Madrid. I think it was the first game where Kaká, Raúl, Ronaldo, it's just all these stars were on the same field at the same time because they just made these big signings, and it's all amazing and cool. Casillas was in goal, probably the best or the biggest collection in my personal collection that I have of jerseys. It's amazing, cool. MLS All-Star game, same thing. I got the chance to play against Real Madrid, amazing. But these are not. These are real games, and we're getting to play against the best in the world and arguably the best team as of last week in the world. And but in a meaningful match. I know there's circumstances, and we'll see how they balance their workload and making sure they can protect their players and make sure that they're taken care of as well. But long season for them, obviously. But it's a huge honor, and we're really excited that we get to play in these matches and in an actual meaningful match.
Do you watch it then with kind of a strategic eye, saying, okay, here's how you could defend this guy in that kind of these moments?
Just don't let him shoot, I would say. That'd be my 2 cents. No, I mean, this is the cream of the crop. And what I do love as well in World Cups is sometimes you see a clash of culture. And I think maybe this is a way also where you get a clash of culture on a club level, which is always fascinating. For a goalkeeper, you see very quickly whether someone has a Latino influence just by their distribution alone, or whether it's a German goalkeeper or things like that. But it trickles down to the whole style of play as well. And so it's a little bit of that FIFA mentality, FIFA World Cup mentality, now making it on a club level too, which I think is fascinating.
Obviously it's a new format, but do you kind of see this upcoming tournament as a little bit of a redemption, just given that you guys fell to Al Ahly in the previous Club World Cup?
Well, I mean, we would have obviously wanted that to last longer. Having said that, just because people don't know Al Ahly doesn't mean it was a weak opponent by any means. I think that is sometimes a misconception why I think these tournaments are actually really amazing, because people don't understand there's teams all over the world that are very, very good. Very, very good. So we got to experience that. Would have loved to move on, and I think we would have played Real Madrid in a meaningful match. But I think it was an amazing experience nonetheless. So I wouldn't call it a redemption arc. I hope we gained a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of experience out of that. But yeah, we're going to treat this as a separate tournament, I think, where we're trying to do our best to, we should do our best to get results. Ultimately, this is a result-based business and game. And, sometimes it's not pretty. I mean, I'd argue against San Diego it wasn't pretty, but it was effectful. We won and got 3 points. And so, just to sorry I'm going on a rant, but I think that's actually the beauty of our sport. is that you see it in cup games a lot, that you see a third division team win against the first division team. I mean, do you see that in NFL? Do you see that in NBA? I don't really, maybe I don't follow the sport as much. But I think that's the beauty of our game, is that you can have a moment of brilliance or a moment of a lucky bounce or a miscommunication, and all of a sudden the team that believed, even though everybody said you shouldn't even believe, find themselves winning a game. And I think if we have all the incentives to do that, we're going to go out there and try to do exactly that.
And then kind of reflecting off, obviously you guys qualified through winning 2022
Yep.
CONCACAF Champions League. What does it mean to you to kind of have that success live on by, earning this opportunity for the Club World Cup?
I think everybody's exceptionally proud of that. Honestly, we were, it's a two-way thing. In a way, you're like, you're proud that you're the only team, but at the same time, there is truth to, I think, the fact that we were hoping this would open the floodgates for MLS, because it was, I think, it was something that the league was knocking on for quite a while. There was a couple of teams that were so close, and then so for us to finally be able to do it, I think was a big statement. So we're hoping that more teams could do it. Having said that, even though it's in a different tournament, it's the tournament above that one. Now there's 3 teams that have an opportunity to make a statement nonetheless. So yeah, I think it shows the growth of the league, of the sport in this country, and that's what it's all about.